Have you ever read a book that you actively disliked, but you kept reading it because it was basically hate reading at that point? Yeah, that was me with Douglas Coupland's Microserfs. Now, the thing is that I see something and I look at it and I read the back and I'm like, huh, this could be cool. And, even maybe the first few pages kind of looks interesting. And if you like physically flip through the book, you think, oh, this could be fun, but then guess what happens? It's not fun. It's not great. So Douglas Coupland is a Canadian, and he's written this book called Microserfs. And on the back, this is what it describes it as. Microserfs, a hilarious, fanatically detailed, and oddly moving book about a handful of misfit Microsoft employees who realize that they don't have lives and subsequently become determined to get lives inside the lightning-paced world of high-tech 1990s geek culture. Amid a Seattle backdrop of corporate software cultishness, Bill, and the financial terror of San Francisco and Silicon Valley tech startups, the members of Coupland's quirky ensemble, quote unquote, stick a piece of dynamite inside themselves like a cartoon cat in the hopes that when they reassemble their exploded pieces, they will be somebody different. Coupland gives readers an intimate, deadly accurate, and profoundly funny view of a way of life that is quickly becoming the dominant lifestyle. Friends, families, and loves engaging in an awkward scramble toward love and success in a brave new world. Let's just say that by the end of it, I wanted to do physical violence toward the book. I don't know. Maybe it's my background, okay? But books like this really bother me because it's almost like the authors are saying my characters are so stunning and brave, and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And then when I actually read it, I'm just like, what? Is this it? So let's get into it. So Microserfs is basically about Daniel. Now there are some other characters in there. Susan, Todd, Bug. Oh, who was the guy that I thought was kind of hot? Michael. And then there's like Abe and stuff. And they are basically living in this very cut and paste kind of world where they are working in the tech industry. So this is around the time where IBM is dying and Microsoft and Apple are basically kind of emerging. So they decide to leave their respective jobs and try out an idea that I believe came from Michael. And they called the project OOP, which is, if you aren't familiar with programming, refers to object-oriented programming. And they basically create an early version of what might be something like Minecraft. This is supposed to be this kind of story about these people coming to terms with stuff, but it really gets hilariously annoying and stupid and overwrought at the same time. I know how. You might be wondering, well, you'll have to read it to find out, right? Or if you don't want to read it, you can just wait for the spoiler section and then find out. So overall, this book, while it is fairly technically well written, once again, I probably put it in like a B tier. I personally don't find it to be a great read. I got more and more annoyed. I was sometimes bored, but sometimes my annoyance got worse and worse. And maybe it's a me problem because once again, something might be technically brilliant, but might not be enjoyable to certain people. So while we can objectively say something is good, subjectively, we can say something is enjoyable or not. And I did not find reading this enjoyable. So I don't recommend this book. If you are somebody who enjoys grittiness, who enjoys epicness, this is a modern realistic fiction kind of like that. And it is not at all fantastical or anything like that. So steer away from it if you're not into reading dramas. And if you're into reading drama, you might be interested in. Okay, let's get to the spoiler section. Basically, I hated this book because I felt like everybody in the book were walking giant babies. Okay, now Michael was a bit better in the sense that he was probably autistic or something, but almost everybody else were so annoying. And it just really drove me nuts how entitled everybody was, how everybody was taking things for granted. And as the book progressed, you got to see that they all had severe mental health issues, basically, right? So they had like leftover religious problems, or was somebody gay, I think, maybe. You have Daniel with this chick who's like trying to navigate their new budding relationship. You have all of these kind of things going on. But at the same point in time, you have this undercurrent of Daniel is not talking about something with his family. And then in literally the last few pages of the book, I forget whether it's his mom who collapses, and she's basically like, I think it's the mom that collapses. I'm trying to forget this book, but I'm pretty sure it's the mom that collapses, and it kind of like jars everyone. It could have been the dad that collapsed, but I think it was the mom. It's in that moment that the family comes to terms with the fact that a long, long time ago, Daniel's younger brother, Jed, died in a childhood drowning accident. And this thing that has been cropping up throughout the novel is actually really weighing on him because he has not actually processed it. And it's affecting his work, it's affecting his relationship with Carla. And so basically it's just this important looming thing that actually I think interjects itself into the novel, because he writes lists and there are like weird pages where the author was trying to kind of like play around with how, narrative looks. So like there's this one section where there's just the word machine on like 2 pages and stuff. So there's these weird interjections of things, and in some of those interjections, basically Daniel is dealing with the question of Jed. And I wish I cared. But when you read about their lives and how affluent and how rich they were, yes, they were in a period of upheaval, but everyone's landing on their feet somehow. They're like big babies living in this house together, and maybe to some people this was the height of the dream. I don't know. And I understand to a certain degree, it's a lot like streamer houses, I imagine. But it's just one of those things where I came away feeling like I should be feeling sympathetic toward them, but I don't. I became more and more and more annoyed with everybody. And by the end of it, I wanted to slap several people. Daniel, I don't think is as bad, but some of the other characters were so annoying, and it drove me insane. And it made me start wondering, is this the generation? If this is based off of reality, I now know why California is fucked up, right? I now actually know why the entire Western seaboard, from the lowest city in California to the largest cities, from the southernmost border to right up to Vancouver, why it's all fucked. Oh man, I guess it's because of my family background. I don't really like it when poor people have this moral high ground that they stand on, or this judgmental thing that they can sometimes carry because I was poor. So I don't want to go down that road, but it's very hard for me to feel sympathetic for people who appear to have never struggled with putting food on their table. And so when you see these people working through certain things, it's very hard for me to take it seriously. And I know that's not being fair, because everybody, it doesn't matter how rich you are, you're going to have mental health issues, and you're going to have things that you're not talking about. But they were living in what felt like a bubble. Like, it's described basically as being a kind of a bubble. And I just felt like they had access to stuff. Like, why didn't they get help if it was so bad? So to me, I really struggled with I really struggled with it, because it felt kind of forced and contrived in many aspects. And the swiftness of the ending felt too jarring. It felt like things happened all at once. It just was not as believable to me. And so I came away from this book very annoyed and I did not like it. Now, maybe you read it and you loved it. Tell me why you loved it. I'd like to know why somebody might have enjoyed this book. Let me know. I'm very curious to find out if anyone has read it and enjoyed it. And yeah, this is my review of Douglas Coupland's Microserfs. That's it for now, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.